What if everything you have, your time, your abilities, your money, your opportunities, and your influence, was never really yours to begin with? Jesus tells a sobering and motivating story about a master who entrusts his servants with great wealth and then returns to settle accounts. This parable will challenge how you view everything God has placed in your hands. Let's set the scene. Jesus often taught in parables, simple stories that carried eternal weight. And this one, found in Matthew chapter 25, is about a master preparing to go on a long journey. Before he leaves, he calls his servants together because he's about to trust them with something enormous. Here's what Scripture says. Jesus said, "For it will be like a man going on a journey, who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away." That's Matthew 25, verses 14 and 15. Now, a talent wasn't just a little pocket change. A single talent represented roughly 20 years of a laborer's wages. So even the servant who received only 1 talent was entrusted with a small fortune. The master didn't hand out equal amounts. He gave to each according to his ability. That detail matters, and we'll come back to it. The first 2 servants got to work immediately. The one with 5 talents traded and invested until he doubled it to 10. The one with 2 did the same, turning his 2 into 4. But the third servant, the one with just 1 talent, was afraid. Instead of investing it, he dug a hole in the ground and buried it. Time passed, and eventually the master returned to settle accounts. The first servant came forward and said, "Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more." And the master's response was glorious. "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." The second servant came with the same report, having doubled his 2 talents into 4, and he received the exact same commendation, word for word. "Well done, good and faithful servant." But then came the third servant. He said, "Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what is yours." The master's response was severe. He called him wicked and slothful, took the talent from him, gave it to the one with 10, and cast the fearful servant into outer darkness. This is a hard ending, but it's meant to wake us up. So let's break down what God is really saying to us through this story. First truth, everything we have is entrusted by God. Notice the master gave different amounts, 5, 2, 1, according to each servant's ability. God does the exact same thing with you. He doesn't hand you someone else's assignment. He doesn't expect you to produce what your neighbor produces. He gives according to what he knows you can carry, and he simply asks you to be faithful with it. Your time, your money, your voice, your talents, none of it was ever truly yours. It was always on loan from the one who made you. Second truth, faithfulness, not comparison, is what matters to God. Did you notice something remarkable? The servant with 5 talents and the servant with 2 talents received the exact same words of praise. Not more praise for more results. The same praise for the same faithfulness. God is not grading you on a curve against somebody else's ministry, somebody else's income, or somebody else's platform. He's not impressed by how much you started with. He's watching how faithfully you use what you were given. The tragedy in this parable was never having only 1 talent. The tragedy was refusing to use it. Third truth, fear and passivity are serious sins in God's eyes. Look closely at the third servant's excuse. He said, "I knew you to be a hard man, so I was afraid." His fear came from a distorted view of his master. He pictured God as harsh, demanding, and impossible to please, so instead of stepping out, he froze. And how many of us do the exact same thing? We bury our gifts because we're afraid of failing. We silence our voice because we're afraid of criticism. We stay comfortable because we're afraid of risk. But Jesus makes it unmistakably clear in this story, burying what God gave you is not humility, it's disobedience. Fourth truth, stewardship leads to greater responsibility and greater joy. Listen to the master's words again. "You have been faithful over a little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master." Faithfulness in small things unlocks bigger doors. It's not about hoarding what you have out of fear, it's about investing it, multiplying it, and stepping into deeper intimacy with the one who gave it to you. And notice the flip side. The servant who refused to use his gift ended up losing even what little he had. So here is the key lesson of this entire parable. God expects faithful stewardship and fruitful use of everything He gives us. Our lives, our gifts, our time, our resources, and our opportunities were never meant for selfish hoarding or fearful hiding. They are investments in God's kingdom, and one day they will be evaluated when Jesus returns. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at what you have and thought, it isn't enough? Maybe you feel like your gifts are too small. Maybe your opportunities feel limited. Maybe your influence feels insignificant compared to someone else's. But hear this. God is not measuring you by what you have compared to others. He is looking at how faithfully you use what He has already placed in your hands. Your talent might not look like a stage or a spotlight. Your talent may be your ability to encourage someone who's discouraged. It may be your wisdom, your creativity, your compassion, your leadership, or simply your willingness to serve behind the scenes. Your talent may even be the testimony of what God has brought you through. What matters is not the size of the gift, it is the heart of the servant carrying it. The enemy loves to whisper that what you have isn't valuable enough to matter. But when God places something in your hands, it has purpose, and a small gift, fully surrendered to Him, can impact lives in ways you may never even see this side of eternity. Remember, the servant who buried his talent wasn't condemned because he had little. He was corrected because he refused to use what he had. Fear will always try to convince you to hide. Comparison will always try to convince you that you don't measure up. But faith calls you to step forward anyway, trusting that God can multiply even your smallest act of obedience. So let's make this personal. Ask yourself 3 questions. What has God placed in my hands? Am I using my gifts to serve Him and to serve others? And am I allowing fear, insecurity, or comparison to keep me from stepping into what He's called me to do? God does not require perfection from you. He desires faithfulness. One day, the greatest reward won't be hearing that you were the most talented person in the room, the most successful, or the most recognized. The greatest reward will simply be hearing these words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." So don't hide what God has given you. Use your gifts, serve with love, walk in obedience, and trust God with the results, because when you place your talents in His hands, even the smallest offering can become a powerful instrument for His kingdom. As Jesus said in Matthew 25, verse 21, His master replied, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness." Your gift has purpose, your calling has meaning, and your faithfulness matters more than you will ever know.